So, my story is a little different in a sense from a lot of uh, the blenders, master blenders, people that are involved in factories. I started off basically as a smoker. I have been a smoker since a very young age, 15, 16 years old, something like that. I remember going to my aunt's house, and her husband always had a cigar in his mouth. And that guy probably went to sleep with a cigar in his mouth. And I was always fascinated by that aroma in the house. And you know, I wanted to be like him. I wanted to have that cigar and I wanted to smell that smell around me all the time. And so, for those of you who have met me, I've always been a little larger than what I actually was by age. So, at 15 or 16, I would take off on my bike from my house and go to our little, what we call our bodega, down the street, and I would buy. They would sell you the loaf of the dough before they put it in the oven to make the Cuban bread, and that's what we would fish all the canals around the house or whatnot. And then they had in the counter of the cafeteria there, these what we call fumas, short filler cigars, 25 cents, 35 cents, depending on the cigar. Some went up to like 50 cents. And so I would grab two of those cigars, whatever they had on the counter, and that's what I would have in my mouth, fishing up and down the canals and whatnot as a kid. And I just fell in love with that. I like the flavor. I like the aroma of it. I loved everything about it. So now you fast forward to now I'm an adult. I'm buying, obviously not Fumas now. I'm buying more premium stuff at cigar shops. And my wife's family had started a very small cigar factory here in Miami in Little Havana. And it was being ran by my wife's mom, her grandmother, and the grandfather. And that was it. It was just them, and we had two rollers, and we had the two blends that they had come up with. Um, my wife's grandfather gets sick. They needed a male in the factory because back then, late 90s, early 2000s, Little Havana wasn't what it is today. It was a little bit more dangerous. You needed to have someone there to help you close up the shop at 5:30, 6 o'clock, so you wouldn't be by yourself. So at that point, I was in banking. I have been in banking probably around 6.5, 7 years, something around there. And I remember the old man was sick. They needed somebody there. I'm like, okay, I'll take a week off vacation. So I took a week off from work and I worked a full week there in the factory. So now I go from, dealing with angry people all the time, people having problems all the time with their checks, or, why is there a hold on the deposit, or why was this return? It was always a problem in banking. Um, and now I went to these, having great conversations with people all the time in the factory and smoking a cigar all day long. And I mean, it was just a different world. And I'm like, man, this is cool. I like this. Not only do I love smoking cigars, but the people you're dealing with, you're having pleasant conversations. People are happy. People aren't pissed off when they come in to see you all the time. And so I put in my 2 weeks and I quit the bank and I started full time working with them in the factory. Now, like I said, I knew nothing of tobacco. I knew nothing about cigars other than what I like to smoke and the reasons why I like to smoke certain cigars. And so when I started working there, I knew I didn't like the cigars we were making. They weren't hitting my palate right. So I was smoking, stuff that I would buy, stuff that I was enjoying. And anybody who knows, any older Cuban gentlemen, and Nick, I'm sure you could concur with me, they're very prideful of what they have, especially what they make. And so it kind of became an issue for I call him my grandfather because my wife and I have been together like 32 years now at this point. Um, why are you smoking this? And why aren't you smoking our cigars? And you're spending all this money, so on and so forth. So I said, well, I got to figure out and have a cigar made here that I do like, that does hit my palate right. So I would go into our tobacco room and just grab stuff purely based off how it smelled, and then bring that to the rollers and say, hey, just put this together, make me a cigar using this, and this. And that's, that's kind of how I started in a sense, because I was kind of going by smell. A lot that goes into blending, it's by texture of the tobacco, by the smell of the tobacco, and then other components go into that. But a lot goes by smell and texture. And so that went on for a few weeks, until it became a problem for the rollers, because the rollers get paid by how many cigars they make. And now here I am constantly giving them stuff to make for me outside of what we call it tarea, what their amount of cigars they need to make every day. So that became a problem. So my last resort was, I need to know how to make a cigar. I need to make and work, with these tobaccos and create something so I could try it without bothering anybody to make the cigars for me. So that's what I did. I basically taught myself by staring at them and looking at them, how they created that bunch, how they filled those molds, how that binder was positioned on the table, so on and so forth, all the different parts. And I learned how to make a cigar. And so, then it was just a game for me. Just let's get this tobacco, let's get this binder, let's do this, let's do that, let's put this amount of seco, this amount of iso, so on and so forth. And I just started making cigars and started, I guess in a sense, I was blending cigars without knowing anything really other than what the smell was or what those particular few tobaccos we had tasted like. And, because we're in Little Havana, we had a lot of foot traffic always coming through Little Havana, because at the time there was a lot of cigar factories. And so we would have, these buses that would stop, and then like on 15th Avenue, our factory is on 11th Avenue. And, people would walk up and down 8th Street, visiting all these cigar factories, visiting all these shops, and they would eventually end up in our place. And, you had your big chunk of those guys. Oh, I'm looking for a cigar for my boss, or I'm looking for a cigar for my dad. But you also had a lot of people asking specific questions. What's the wrapper binder? Oh, where's the filler from? And then those people, that was a flag for me. I'm like, okay, this guy knows. Or this lady knows, because there was a lot of women coming in buying cigars as well. And so those people at the end of the sale became my guinea pigs. And before they left out the door, I say, hold on, let me give you something. I'm going to give it to you for free. All I ask is for you to call me or send me an email and let me know what you think of the cigar. And those were really the people that were giving me feedback on all this stuff I was putting together, because I knew I liked it, but I didn't know what people thought of it. And so I started giving all these people that would come in all this stuff that I was working on in the factory. And like I said, every day was 2, 3, 4 different blends, and just putting stuff in the top shelf, and just see what it tasted like. See how it was, how it burned, what was the aroma, how was the complexity, was it strong, was it mild, and all these different aspects that go into a cigar. And that's pretty much how it started for me.